Assalamualaikum to Dr. Mahbubul. Today our group will present about applicability and limitations of international humanitarian law to address the conflicts in Africa and Middle East. So for introduction, war or armed conflict is one of the most similar forms of civilization to human civilization. Armed conflict is a situation in which a person or group of people strives to achieve their goal by opposing others with threats of violence. Forms of armed conflict are usually identified by the condition of a group of people which comprises different race, ethnic, cultural, religious, economic, political, and social status. Armed conflict creates organized violence arising from a combination of parties opposing views on an issue, hostility, and certain types of diplomatic and military actions. The term armed conflict has undergone a paradigm shift, where at present conflict does not apply only involve intergovernmental parties, but non-state parties are also involved in warfare or armed conflict. Armed conflict between a state and a non-state is an armed conflict that occurs between countries and rebel forces within the same country. In the current armed conflict, civilians have suffered horrific incidents such as mass murder, hostage, sexual violence, harassment, expulsion, forced evacuation, and looting. Refugees in their territories as a result of armed conflict in the international humanitarian law fall into the category of civilians affected by the conflict and must be protected and entitled to humanitarian assistance. Even with international humanitarian law, the armed conflict still occurred in this modern times. Thus, what is the applicability and limitations of the international humanitarian law till the armed conflict still happening? So that will be a question mark. So first is genocide. The genocide can be defined as the event that involves mass amount of killing with the reasons to destroy a particular minority, race, ethnic group, and so on. Genocide can be considered as one of the violent events in the world because it will be lead to the sacrifice huge number of lives, and that is why it has been included in the international humanitarian law. Based on the Article 1 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, the contracting parties confirm that genocide, whether committed in time of peace or in time of war, is a crime under international law which they undertake to prevent and to punish. Article 4 stated that person committing genocide or any of other acts enumerated in Article 3 shall be punished, whether they are constitutionally responsible rulers, public officials, or private individuals. The genocide shall be abolished, and most of the countries look at the matter in a very serious way, but does the law applicable to the world nowadays?
It can be seen from the example of case in the according to the alley, taking of meticulous experiment in the event of armed conflict in sub-Saharan Africa. It is extremely impossible to do an action of genocide without any act that can be referred to the intention of to destroy the particular nation, ethnic group, race, religion, whether in whole or by partially. Since the 2003 Darfur War, more than 1 million civilians have fled and 100 more have been killed. The death toll from the Darfur War varied. In 2005, the British Parliament called for 300,000 people. Meanwhile, in 2004, the UN set the death toll of more than 70,000. Next. The difficulty of securing the number of casualties was due to the fact that the Sudanese government was not interested in resolving the crisis that they themselves create. In some, the situation of armed conflict can be met with the good intention of war and not to create mass murder at the amount of genocide. This is not even applicable to the humanitarian law.
The weak protections towards the civilians. During the armed conflicts, the combatants are not allowed to touch or harm the civilians, as stated in Article 27 of the Geneva Conventions relative to protections of civilian persons in time of war. There are also specific law on the protections for the women and children, prisoners of war, wounded and sick people and old people. Next.
Most of the armed conflicts will be involved with the death of the civilians. For example, the case of sexual assault in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Based on interview with the victim, a witness, local authorities, and other sources, the expert found that Raya Mutomboki had raped 17 women in the group last September, in addition to torturing them and making them sex slaves. Next. Besides, in April 2012, United Nations had stated that the Congolese combatants have put on atrocious manner when they have killed more than 264 civilians, and it is include women and children. From the event of conflict in Congo, apparently the protection of civilians is not well preserved in the most of the armed conflict. Therefore, it is already becoming a limitation in the international humanitarian law, whereby it is not really be relevantly effective to the combatants. Next.
Hi, my name is Zhong Sin, 046498. So, children as armies. Children has been objected as armies in one of the legislation in the IHL. Under the optional protocol on the involvement of children in armed conflict, the states cannot recruit the children under 18 to the battlefield. State must not enlist their soldier under 18. States should take as much action to avoid such recruitment, including legislation to forbid and criminalize the recruitment of children under 18 and take them in hostilities. So state will discharge anyone under 18. In some case, for example, in Sierra Leone, the children under 18, maybe aged from as young as 6 to 8, they have been fed drugs and brainwashed so that can become the child soldier and they will die for their commander. Thank you. Next.
The children also has been categorized in the civilians group or society that shall be protected from any danger and harm. It is also can be considered as torturing the physical and the mental of the children, as they are not capable to involve in any heavy workload, as to be involved in armed groups that may need energy and pressure. Most of the armed groups that use the children because most of the African countries do not afford to recruit soldiers. Therefore, they use the children to involve in armed groups. The child slavery is still practiced in Sierra Leone by directing their energy to become soldiers. Children are usually smuggled in because they are young, energetic, and easy to recruit and teach as a soldier. Those still young, those who were captured by the enemy would be treated like other adult prisoners. In short, even the humanitarian law already include the children cannot be involved in the armed groups before 18 years old, but yet it still happened. The gaps of the international humanitarian law obviously can be seen.
So, the destruction of public infrastructure. The infrastructure cannot be destroyed because those facilities run by civilians to run their life. Public infrastructure such as hospital, or police station, second categorized, such as historical building. Because according to the article of the 1998 ICC statute, intentionally targeting the attacks against building dedicated to religion, education, art, science, or charitable purposes of historic monument, provided there are not military motive. This article constitutes armed conflict in both international and non-international armed conflict.
So if we can see in the case of Palestine and Israel, where the Palestine has been invaded by Israel for so many years, and the armed conflict that never reached to specific resolution and has been gone through several negotiation process, but still they cannot even reach for their agreement. So from that we can see that Israel has done many destruction of infrastructure towards the Palestine, such as schools, hospitals, offices, agencies, and many more. So even though that Israel has done so many like, you know, inhuman activities, but still the international agencies such as UN never take action about that. So we can see the applicability there is a bit weak, and the international humanitarian law is not you know, like it has been violated if it involves about the Israel case. So if we reach for the conclusion, international humanitarian law can be useful sometimes.
So as for conclusion, international humanitarian law is remarkably useful to the world to get more awareness about humanitarian shall be done. Actually, the limitations and the applicability of the humanitarian law is depend on the states itself to follow or not. Sometimes it has not been followed because of the interest and profit. The strange things that happen in this modern world is the law has been created like for no one. It is just to apply to the who have not significant backup or supporters, while if you have a strong middleman, there is no law will be applied to you. Then what is the function for the humanitarian law if there is no sense of justice? So that's all from us. Thank you.